So I hope that answers your question. Does anybody else want to add anything to that?
All right. Please, referring to the confirmation of charges hearing themselves, the scheduling order has been issued and the process will start on 9th September up to 11th September. There is a detailed agenda on how the parties and participants will be presenting to the judges on the first day, the second day, and the third day. Probably my colleagues here have the specificities of who is presenting on day 1, day 2, and day 3. So it's a total of 3 days. And after those presentations and the process closes, we expect that within a period of 60 days, a decision will be issued that will either confirm all of the charges, some of the charges, decline to confirm them. These are the possible outcomes at the end of the 60 days when a decision comes out.
I've got nothing to add to what Maria said. That's a perfect summary of the timeline in which the case will take place and in which a decision should be rendered. So the simple answer is you should know whether these charges are confirmed in whole, in part, or not at all before the end of this year. As to the exact timing, I think it's likely that the prosecution will take the whole of the first day and a bit of the second. The victims will then probably use up most of the second day, and the defence plus any responses will be on the third day. It can, of course, get much shorter if people don't take as much time as they say they're going to. I'm going to answer the second question, and I might ask Kate to deal with the third one. Between us, I think we've got covered most of the big war crimes, crimes against humanity cases of the last 20 years, Karadzic, Bemba, but I don't think any of us had any hesitation in getting involved in this case. It's the privilege of a lifetime. At one time, Joseph Kony was the most wanted man in the world. It's a very famous case, and legally it is fascinating. So the simple answer to that is, if I hadn't wanted to do it, I wouldn't have applied to do it. And I'm honoured and privileged to have been given the opportunity to do this case. Not least, and Kate has already said this, because I'd never been to Uganda before, and I think it's a fantastic country. It's the most welcoming place I've been in my life, and particularly the north we have grown very, very attached to. Now, could you summarise your third question, or do you remember it?
I think it is, are we prepared? Have we done our work? And to answer that in front of these many cameras, yes, we are very prepared. And we are ready for the hearing on the 9th. It's a very strange exercise we've been involved in. You know, as Peter said, we have worked in many different international criminal cases arising from events in Rwanda, the Congo, Kosovo, Cambodia, the former Yugoslavia. And in all of those situations, we've had a client. So the majority of our work as defence lawyers is spending time in the detention unit, talking to your client, learning from your client, and getting their instructions, and they tell you what they think of the evidence. They'll say, this is correct, this is incorrect, this is who you should speak to, this is how you should investigate. And so then we have the privilege of going into the field and learning about the crimes in question. That whole aspect of our work has been wiped out in this case because Joseph Kony is not in the ICC detention centre. So we can't go down the road and talk to him and learn from him about how he would want to be defended. And we don't have any ability to try and presume. He might want to plead guilty to crimes. He might want to say, yes, these happened, and yes, I was involved. Or he might want to say, it's important that you know that no, we weren't involved in this particular incident or event. So without that starting point, our work as defence lawyers in this case has been very different. But I can still assure you that we have been working very hard in terms of really focusing on spending as much time as we can here and learning directly from the communities on the ground about the events. And in particular, discussing with them about what this 20-year search for justice should look like and how it should end. And so when we stand up on September the 9th in the courtroom, we won't be doing what we normally do, but we will be prepared to try and adapt to this novel procedure.
Thank you.